Welcome, everyone, to the third Game Club episode of Bite Sized Pod. And today we're going to look at Advance Wars. So, to get into Advance Wars, who's here with us?
You got Corbin.
You got Mexican Ray Romano.
And Colombian Ray Romano.
And I'm Ziggy. We can go over all of our different history with the game. Miguel, you want to start? How did you first play this game?
I think I played this one on an emulator the first time I played it also, because it wasn't one of those that was, at least for me, it wasn't super popular for the Game Boy at the time. So I didn't hear about it until after. So maybe, I don't know, like maybe more than 10 years ago. Definitely more than 10 years ago. But that was the first time I played it. And it was on the emulator, but it was great. I have very fond memories of this game.
I remember knowing about this game, and it was on my list for like the longest time to play. And I literally just never played it. So when I think this was a game that was up there for me to throw on our list when we started even talking about this podcast, because it was just, I think this is like what this list was designed for, of games that like I always wanted to play and just have not gotten to. So literally played this for the first time a month ago.
Cool. How about you, Caleb?
Yeah, I did not play this game before, but I was going to say the same thing, that this was one of those games. I feel like there's always those games, like no one literally plays every game they want to that comes out. And this is a game I remember growing up being like, oh man, like I bet I would have liked that game, and I just never got around to it. So it was one of those ones that was always like, oh, I knew I should have played that. So this month was my opportunity.
Yeah, for me, a childhood friend came over and he just got a Game Boy Advance. I still had my Game Boy Color. And he was literally trying to convince my mom to buy me a Game Boy Advance because he wanted to play multiplayer. So he was trying to show my mom the Game Boy Advance, and it's not backlit. And she's like, what am I looking at? Like, I can't even see anything. So it like backfired. So I was like, I wanted one of these. Like, it's like
That was
not selling her on it at all. But I remember getting to play it a little bit for a couple hours and just being like, I want to play more of this. Because I used to play a similar game. I had a Sega Game Gear. There was a game called Shining Forces, I think. I had it on the Game Gear. And it was like the same thing, tactical RPG, and I loved it. So I was like, oh, this is another game like that.
What was that for?
Sega Game Gear.
Oh man. I don't think we have too many Sega Game Gear games on our list, do we?
I don't think zero. We have like one Sega game. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah, we gotta step that up.
That's a side point, because Sega is something that, like, I think we played a lot of Sonic. Other than Sonic, like, my Sega history is pretty woeful.
I'd like to get in some of the Dreamcast stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we need to dip into that at some point.
So we keep talking about Advance Wars. Anyone want to try to explain what it is?
Why is this war advanced?
Yeah, like why?
I like to think about this game. This is the perfect war simulation for a Saturday morning cartoon. It's like exactly what you would have expected to see Saturday morning when you turn on a TV show about war. Like, all the units like work the way it's like a tactical game, and all the units do exactly what you expect. It's very intuitive, but it's not really at all like war. it's what you expect to see in a children's cartoon, but it's great.
Yeah, I actually kind of like that about the game, because I think normally the theme would be something that I wouldn't be interested at all. It's kind of as war-based as chess is. It really is like that in depth, which is kind of actually more my preference level, because usually I get nauseated by all the camouflage and things like that. So
yeah, and you don't really like. I don't know. I didn't want it to be gritty. It's not gritty.
Yeah.
It's not realistic. So it's
more toy-like. And a kind of embarrassing side note that happened, this month. I've been calling it a Game Boy Advanced with a D at the end, like my whole life. And I was like, this is advanced Wars. But then I realized when playing it, like, no, it's advanced. Like
It's
everything is
advanced.
advanced.
Yeah.
It's no D on the end.
Yeah,
And that
that's true.
kind of embarrassing, but I've been calling it the wrong thing all my life.
Well,
I
to be
think if you would
fair,
have told me to spell it, I would have spelled it correct. But I think I've been pronouncing it wrong too.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like I've for the longest time been pronouncing it Advanced Wars, which didn't. I mean, until we played it this time, it didn't click that it's Advance because it's on the Game Boy Advance.
Mm-hmm.
Then it made more sense.
I've been calling it Advanced Warsed.
So while we're talking about the history, so there was other war games, right, in this Nintendo series, and
Yeah,
this was
by
like the Game Boy
Intelligent.
Advance war,
Yeah.
like, version, right? So it's like a series almost.
So it started on Famicom. So Famicom Wars, Super Famicom Wars, Game Boy Wars. So actually in Japan, it was released as Game Boy Advance Wars. It still had the Game Boy element in it. And this game predates Fire Emblem. So Intelligent Systems did this first and then used the same engine to build the Fire Emblem franchise. So it's kind of interesting that this game has gone relatively neglected until recently.
That was one of the facts I knew, right? I think was that it was like the only fact I know, I should say, was the success of this. Like they didn't think it would succeed in the US, right? Like in Western audiences, and the success is really what gave them confidence to go ahead with Fire Emblem and kind of start that.
To localize Fire Emblem. Because it was
Correct.
big in Japan, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so basically they programmed in like an in-depth tutorial, which we'll get into that in the pros and cons situation. I have a strong feelings about the tutorial.
I actually think we might disagree on this.
Wow. Okay.
Oh,
That's good. So interesting, I don't want to get too far into this, but this game was initially released in North America first on September 10th, 2001. So one day before 9/11. So that's not the best situation
the
for this
worst
game
timing
to
of
come
all.
out, even though it's really cutesy and toy-like. And since because of that, it delayed in Europe and Japan, and Japan didn't even get it until the sequel came out, and they got it as a combo pack in 2004.
Wow.
So kind of tragic.
I thought that was interesting because, like, the series was Japan only, and then they, like, Intelligent Systems finally convinced Nintendo, like, hey, like, localize this game, and they did, and then it only came out in North America because of that. So it's kind
Right.
of weird. It was originally made for Japan, and it only released in North America.
Well, let's dig right into the pros and cons then. The first thing I have here is the story. Miggy, is this a pro or is this a con for you?
I don't know if there's much of a story happening, or at least a very complex one. Like it's very simple,
Mhm.
very, very simple. They do some like background character building throughout some of the storytelling, but it's not directly related to what's happening in the bigger scheme of things, which even that doesn't make a whole lot of sense either.
Mhm.
But it's fine. It's not the best story in the video game world. It's definitely not the worst. It is what it is. For what it is, it's very simple. I don't think I've ever played this game for the story. I didn't even remember the story for this game until I started playing it again. I was like, oh, well, I can see why I never remembered this. It's not very memorable, but it's all right.
Yeah, that's kind of why I put story down in the first place, because there is one, but I mean, I guess all the games we've played so far, the story is kind of irrelevant. So I think I am kind of interested in the future to play something that is very dependent on story, like just for fun, because everything we've played so far, I think, especially in the case of this game and in Mega Man Battle Network, I really don't want a heavy story. So if this game was like burdened down with too much text, it takes away from the strategy too much. So for me, it's like a pro that there's just these enough little bit of snippet of dialogue to keep you like interested in what's going on, but it's not diluting the gameplay.
I didn't care about the story at all as I was reading it, but I would say it is a bad story. It's a con, I would say, but it's not like major just because I don't care. But there is like a little bit of like, like a Ludo narrative dissonance where like what's happening in the game is like so separate from the story. I don't know. Am I allowed to jump to the end of the story?
Oh yeah.
This was the worst offender. When you get to the end and you realize that there's this, other entity that you're fighting and all the armies join together and fight it. Afterward, I think it's Eagle.
Wait, what's the other entity?
What's it called? Black
Oh
Hole Army
man.
or something?
Good question. Let's consult.
Name starts with an S.
Consult the research department.
Smog, Sprog,
The Desolation of Smog.
Sprague.
Yeah, I mean, because I did not actually finish this game.
Yeah.
So.
What's his name? He poses as Andy, which stirs up all the contention in the first place.
Wait, what?
It gets weird.
Yeah.
But anyways, so you fight, like everyone joins together to fight it, and at the end when you beat it, I think it's Eagle, one of the other armies, is like, "Hey Andy, like we should have like a skirmish together sometime." They're like, "Yeah, let's do it." But literally in these skirmishes, people are getting shot and dying. Like, what is going on here? Why are they just like throwing people's lives away for like fun? Like, it really does not make any sense if it's actually war. Like,
Yeah, that's why I was thinking it's more of like a kids playing toys kind of thing. Like it's more of like kids playing chess, but their own house rules of chess. And his name is Sturm. Sturm. So
Sturm?
Yeah. So forget all the things I said that rhyme with frog.
Smog.
Yeah.
Schmurg.
Schmurg. Schnorg. Sporg.
That's not a name though. Sturm.
Yeah. That's why we all forgot it.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. True. I do think it's a con though for me, the story, because like I feel like they hit it like right in the middle in the worst way. Like they tried to put story into it, but really didn't commit. And probably the worst out of the games we've played so far, it was just like either don't do story or do story. They tried to throw in like those like, oh yeah, everybody's connected. Like everybody has relationships with one another, at least like commanding officers and stuff. Like they know each other, and like it was just like it was so paper thin. Like it just was kind of frustrating. And then to jump, like you have these weird conversations that they're having, and then you just jump into this like battle, and they're completely like faceless soldiers. They're just these pawns. That I think that is one thing that Fire Emblem does better is like, the people that are the pawns, quote unquote, is like actual people. And sometimes that might be like too much story and dialogue for some people, but like it's better than like having people, but it's just then you jump into this war and there's nothing. Like it's just these random pawns that are getting thrown around. I couldn't even differentiate some of the some of the like units from each other. So I think it was like in a weird middle ground that made it a con for me. It really should have just gone one way or the other.
I feel weird saying it's a major con though, just because I don't feel like the game ever suggested to me that it was about the story. Like, yeah. I don't think that they lead you to believe that that's a selling point. Like, it's just there because they feel like they need to have it. So that's why it doesn't detract from the game for me.
I mean, even on the cover of the box, the main thing it advertises is you can link up with 4 people on your Game Boy Advance. So it's like, oh, okay, you can do like a 4-way battle, which is just, that sounds bananas. I don't even think that sounds fun.
Which I can't believe we haven't done that. We got to do that. Yeah.
I do want to do more of like 1v1, but maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm missing out.
We gotta do some 1v1, but I think we gotta do 4 like free for all too.
The Mario Party version.
I do think it was worse than like I was thinking back to Battle Network though, and like I kind of felt the same way about Battle Network. I just felt like it was non-consequential, but I actually think this was worse. Like, you know, I don't know why.
It's true. There's no dead twin brother to.
I think the simple remedy is for the stories, like the story elements, if they just added a skip button. Like you could just choose. That would be, I think, a really easy solution that we'll see if the remake has or does not have.
Like you mean like skip the entire no
all the dialogue?
Like you know, like it's like skipping a cutscene in a game. Like you just
you can though if you just press start at the beginning of a dialogue, it'll skip right straight to the battle.
No way.
Yeah.
What?
Marvin's like, I'm gonna go replay this game and finish it.
Honestly, I should have known that because there's always a feature that I miss in these games. I have missed like a main way to play the game every time.
That's kind of the fun of talking about it, though. You know, like because it changes your perspective of it a little bit.
That's hilarious,
right?
I'm gonna go out on a lim and say the remake will also include that feature. Then,
yeah, we'll probably advertise it at all moments someone's talking to.
Oh,
well, the next thing we have is sprite work. Is this a pro or a con?
I really like it. I think it's strong. It's not overly like it doesn't try to be overly complex, but even the simple sprites that it tries to use are detailed enough to make them stand out. And then I think it adds to the whole, like we've mentioned several times already, like the playing with toys kind of aesthetic look to it. The bright colors, everything. I think it's done really, really well. I like it.
I think the only gripe I had with it was there was a couple units I really did get mixed up. Like the artillery and the anti-air, I constantly got mixed up. The rocket launchers, obviously we're different, but there was like weird stuff like that I would just like have a weird lapse once in a while. Or I would see a tank and get it confused for like the medium tanks usually.
Some of the boats
different.
looked a little similar.
Some of the boats, yeah. And I mean, it was like, I think it was nice the way they had, I guess we can get into this with like some of the gameplay too. Like the way that you would hit the R button, it pull up their info, but
which took me way too long to figure out.
that was your mechanic, you forgot?
Yeah.
They just play the tutorial.
It's longer than the story.
You actually have to, so.
Do you? No, I didn't have to. I skipped it.
The tutorial?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah,
How?
you can't skip it. Yeah.
I think you don't have to do like one of them, if even.
Start?
You restart again.
Yeah, no. Seriously, that was okay. I'm gonna jump ahead and just notch this one off later. Tutorial was a con because it's literally longer than the main campaign.
Mm-hmm.
You can skip the tutorial though?
Yeah.
How?
Just don't play it. Go to campaign.
There's a campaign option? I didn't see a campaign option.
That's the story mode.
I thought the campaign option was locked until after you completed training.
Yeah, that was all I had.
I think you can do it after maybe the first, don't quote me on this, but maybe the first 3, because everything else is supposed to be advanced tutorial, which
that tutorial was wicked. I was like, oh my, and not in a good way. I was just like, this is a grind.
Okay. I actually really liked it for a tutorial.
Really?
Yeah, because
we're dumb Americans.
Yeah, and I need that. Hold my hand, walk me through it.
There is a lot of hand holding in this tutorial, but
I actually didn't think there was like they I don't know. There was some hand holding, but there were a lot of points in the tutorial when it was just like, okay, you play it out from here.
Yeah, which was good.
And it was like most missions, they would like describe something for you, and you're like, oh, okay, obviously I'm learning about boats, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's what I got to focus on. But it like they would kind of hint towards a strategy, but then they would just let you play the rest of the mission, and they wouldn't interfere every 5 seconds. And I thought that was pretty good for a tutorial, like to not literally just be sitting there basically reading it. Some games will do that, you know, where like literally just,
or they'll force you to move to such and such way.
Yeah, and it's like one step at a time, and you're having to read all this text in between. And it was, I mean, there was moments of that, but it was kind of like, okay, this is what you're doing. Here's how you do it. Just try it out, you know.
And I also like too that most of the tutorial maps, it wasn't like, oh, we teach you the new thing and then that's the end of the tutorial. It was like actually a map, and then you could like it teaches it to you, and then you can just finish out the map and just play like a normal map. So I didn't really feel like the tutorial is that bad, just because it's like, okay, like I see what they're teaching me, and then I just play like a simple map. So I it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good pro, actually, like a nice extension of the game.
That's cool. I respect that, but I didn't play it all the way, so
It is.
I was like, I'm out of here. I'm just gonna play. I'm gonna learn from my mistakes or not.
It is excruciatingly long, but I think
No. I think it's literally more tutorials than there are campaign missions, right?
But I think I do see it from like Caleb and Corbin's point of view, because if this was the first time I was playing it, there's a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the game mechanics are, from what I've heard, were tried to be as simple as they could, so that it could have an American release, but they're still complex enough where you need to know how things work and how terrains affect you, and bases and deploying units and how you get funds for that. All these things, the range, how CO powers can affect. So there's a lot of like details that can help out, especially if you go into the what's it called, the advanced campaign, the one that you get after you pass it the first time.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of tips in the tutorial that help out so that you can complete a game. So yeah, I like, if I see it from their point of view, then yeah, it's good that the tutorial's made that way, because I think it's the first game of its kind for an American release, and there's a lot of explanation that needs to be done for people to understand or get make the best use of the game.
I think it's valuable. I'm not trying to like dunk on it in that sense, but I just personally, it was like, okay, I'm done with this.
Yeah. I actually do think
I don't mind it being there, but
yeah, maybe if they would have broken it up more, where it wasn't like
More?
you want more tutorial?
What do you guys think? Like 15 more tutorial missions? No, like dispersed it among the campaign a little bit. Like, I think that's one thing that could have been cool, that maybe to pull from this game, is like that tutorial I feel like is integrated with the gameplay really nicely, and it's not like too hand-holdy, but maybe like break it up with like a tutorial like that would be really cool if it does it over a campaign as well, and you can kind of integrate it over the story mode. Like, you know, maybe you learn an idea, so you have like one or two story missions based on.
Yeah, I like that more so.
And, you know, every so often they can kind of jump into the tutorial, but it's not super handholdy. It just kind of teaches you something else and lets you play out the rest of the mission. So,
yeah, I think I would have liked it a little more that way, personally. But before we move on from sprite work, because we're jumping all over, which I don't mind. That's fine. I really like the sprite work in the sense that now that I've seen how they're remaking it, I miss the pixel art. You know, I don't like the way this new one looks. Like, I'm sure it's gonna have a lot of quality of life features. I'm sure it'll be online, which is fun. But I don't want to be a pixel snob. But yeah, I miss the pixel art.
It is.
You know what would have been really dope if they remade it like Octopath?
Like,
Oh.
No. Oh.
What does it look
like that? Or it's like that pixely, but like 3D at the same time. Like,
yeah.
I think that is hands down my favorite visual style. I think I actually like it better than just straight up like pixel. It's so cool to me. It's such a cool fusion of ideas.
I think we can all just agree it's a good thing that they're not doing the Square Enix classic, which is to just take the pixel art and smooth the pixels out, which is just like the ugliest thing you could possibly do to a remake.
Yes.
It's better than that.
what did you all think of the gameplay? Is that a pro or a con?
That's the whole game. I mean, that's like everything that's good about it is the gameplay, right?
Yeah. I think it's a pro. I mean, it's a pro because it's kind of like that's what's good about the game. But I guess my only hesitation with that is I don't think this is my kind of game. For me personally, it's not like a high ranking game. It was like as much hype as I had in my head, like for knowing about this game for how long and like always having it on my list to play. I feel like I was not as excited as I thought I would be playing it. It was not. It just wasn't my kind of game. But I think for what it is, the gameplay is like awesome.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Are you guys big into tactical games? Like, is this the first tactical game you've played, or like,
Well,
like how does it compare to some other ones? Not to get too off the topic of this game.
If I could go, I think it's really polished. There's a couple mechanics in it that are broken, especially in this first game, but I don't think it's not that bad. It's really kind of
Skill powers.
Yeah. I think I think it's pretty polished. I would say it's pretty good, especially on the Game Boy Advance. I think it's really fun that you can just start and stop at any point. And those are generally my favorite kind of handheld games. It's like, oh, I can just pause and save and no harm done.
Yeah, you don't have to finish mission, especially those that take like 30 days or 40 days to finish. Yeah, that's a good part of the game. I think I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, tactical games are always a strong pro if it's done well.
Mm-hmm.
For me, just because I love thinking about moves and what my best options are, and if I have to make sacrifices, what the best sacrifices are.
Mm-hmm.
So that very chess type of mentality that Zach talked about a little bit already. I don't think this. I think this is the first good tactical game that I played, because I definitely played Fire Emblem before this.
Oh, shots!
But Fire Emblem isn't so much like, it's very simple in terms of like paper scissors rock type of tactics, at least for the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
And this one it's a little more complex. I think it's very well balanced in the type of units too. Not perfectly balanced, but there's definitely there's nothing that's completely overpowered. There are some that are really annoying, like the bombers. But there's a way to defeat those pretty easily. So yeah, I think it's a good balance.
Yeah. For me, I mean, I grew up going to chess club for most of my elementary days, so that's my favorite tactical strategic RPG, if I can call it that. Because when I used to play chess, sometimes I would like create a little story in my head that would motivate me to try to win. Because otherwise, I was like, oh, it's just a game. So I would try to like create a story as I was playing an opponent. So these kind of games are like perfect for me because I really, it scratches that itch that I really enjoyed as a kid. For me, my favorite tactical RPG is Pokemon Conquest. That's a gem on the DS.
Whoa, I have not played that.
Yeah, that one's really good.
List?
Yeah, and I like that it doesn't really have like a fantasy theme. I get so tired of fantasy theme. That's my main gripe with Fire Emblem. Is that it's not that it's a bad game. It's just I get so tired of the fantasy theme. So the Pokemon Conquest is cool because it's set in like ancient Japan, and that's pretty cool before Pokeballs. So pretty cool theme. Pretty easy to be immersed in.
Yeah, I do think that Fire Emblem is like especially generic in its fantasy theming, but I will say that Advance War, even though like when you look at it you could argue that it is generic modern warfare, like, you know, but I would say that the fact that it clearly has like the Nintendo polish of being like very cutesy and also very accessible, I feel like the theming, though it is generic, I feel like it attracted me to the game just because it's very approachable.
Yeah, I agree too. Because one thing that I would say that this is over Fire Emblem is in Fire Emblem they basically have a rock paper scissors system of sword beats, what is it, axe beats javelin, or I don't know I don't remember what it is.
Sword axe bow.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay. Whereas this has a little more depth and a little bit more know-how. You kind of have to know what combats what a little more than that. You can't just look at the character unless you memorized everything. So I think that's kind of fun. and I think it puts it above it for me.
I think that's part of why I'm not scared to get into a game like that, like to understand more than just rock, paper, scissors, 3 elements. Even like the original Pokemon had more layers than that. So,
Yeah.
it's not really enough. But I do think Fire Emblem makes up for that in its story, at least. Like, at least it tries to engage you that way.
Yeah, for sure.
Even if you're not okay with the story, like even if you don't like it, like it's still trying to engage you more than this game was with the story. So, there were so many layers to the combat that I don't think it could do both. I do think that the combat, like those multi layers, was interesting to me. Maybe it was just the timing of when I played it too, I didn't have the time I almost needed a quicker system to pick up and play with the time that I had to play it currently. So maybe that's why it wasn't as accessible for me, or I didn't get into it as much. But like I could see, like, if you had the time to just like devote a little bit more like focus into it, there's a lot to explore there, especially if you're going to start playing against other people. Like I could see how that would be really cool, like having all those different layers.
Yeah, I think it's another case of a game that, like, if you can play it against real individuals, that's just like takes it to another level of depth.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Like Battle Network, actually. Like,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like Battle Network against somebody else that would be like another level.
Oh yeah, and that's like even the advanced campaign. Once you beat the game and unlock like an even harder mode, it was brutal. I couldn't even beat it, and I like tactical. Well, I also didn't give it the time it needed, but I just kind of was like, okay, this isn't respecting my time either, so I'm gonna start playing a different game.
I really like the Advance campaign, or that the fact that they added that and that it was so ridiculously different from the normal campaign, because it forces you to think differently about the way you approach a battle. Because before, for me, the normal campaign was always about offensive more than defensive and just trying to destroy units. But on the Advanced campaign, I had to find myself trying to sneak and just secure their headquarters, because going like offensive or playing defense was not working for me at all. Like I definitely was on the verge of throwing my controller several times.
I will say that was some of my favorite missions I played, like specific battles, was when I was like almost completely defeated, and I literally just like randomly found that one spot to throw my heavy trooper that avoided everybody's detection, and he just captured the base randomly. And it was like I had one trooper and like a single tank, and you still win. Like some of that actually did like get down to the wire, and it was a really cool ending. That was kind of addictive.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say I'm curious what the game would have been like. I told you guys I was reading that article. There's an article from The Edge magazine where they interview the developers from Intelligent Systems, and they were saying that, when Nintendo asked them to make this game, they had all these ideas, and every time they would send in like ideas for new mechanics to Nintendo, they would always come back with like, that is way too complicated, or you need to streamline this, or you need to pare this down. And they said like they kept shooting down a bunch of ideas, but like the game, like you guys were saying, like it turned out to have more depth than a lot of other games in the genre. That like I'm curious what the game would have been if Nintendo did not make it simpler. Like
what were they what was he shooting for?
Yeah, what were these ideas?
Instead of a tutorial, you have to read like a whole entire encyclopedia as you're playing.
They
you have to like reference.
It's like a separate manual that comes with it.
Well, games did used to come with manuals.
I mean like a war manual.
A strategy guide. In the true sense.
War.
Like an actual history book.
Yeah. You had to know historical details to win the missions.
Well,
not quiz.
Trivia aspect.
Yeah, quiz.
I think, well, maybe it wouldn't have gone that far just talking about it now. I don't think it would have gone that in depth in it, but I think was it the Did You Know gaming video that we watched, or somewhere else that I read, that a lot of the units were based on actual like tanks or airplanes that were used by different nations, different countries at different points in time. So maybe they did have something crazier.
Right.
That is true. I meant to ask you guys also, are we to believe that we're a communist army? Because when you look at the Orange Star Army, they're not orange. not orange.
Don't ask, don't tell. Going into characters / COs, was this a pro or a con for you guys, or just Corbin seems like he's neutral?
I mean, I think it's kind of like where the story mode was for me. Like, I thought the ideas for the characters was cool. Like, I was interested in them when we were introduced to them initially, but I don't think it got developed very well. So I think it turned out to be a con because I was like, oh, they're kind of cool, like cool characters, but I don't know. I just didn't care about them by the end.
I really like the design. The artwork is really cool.
Yeah, I think that's probably what captured me right away. It was like everything's designed so cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who did you guys play the most? Like, did you favor Andy, Max, or Sammy the most?
I think I favored Andy the most because of that repairability.
Mm-hmm.
Felt like that was just my like.
I think I did too. Yeah,
it made the most sense to me.
What about you, Miggy?
Oh, I played guns blazing, so I think I used Max the most.
Yeah, Max is
nice.
is the most broken. Like, if you want to dominate,
he's the one that gives you a boost to the
all land units.
All land units.
Yeah.
Wait, does that include tanks?
You can just crush. Yeah.
I think Max does. Yeah, increased attack power.
I think like 40% or something. It's broken.
Holy crap!
Yeah. So if you want to run through the game, that's who would play us.
I don't think I realized that was that big of a boost.
Yeah.
And I actually don't think I realized it was to tanks too.
Yeah, because the healing can be nice, but when you like pair it up to just doing that much more damage, it's kind of like, well,
It's
I think
like a no-brainer.
I save more health by just destroying everything.
Oh yeah, I'll just win first.
Yeah.
Dang, that's pretty dope.
I don't even remember what Sammy did.
Sammy does increase like the mobility for your.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
Land or
That's okay.
land, just the infantry and what's the other one called? The ones with the.
I think it was the mechs, right? Wasn't it the
mechs?
mechs?
That's right. It's the
I keep saying mechs. I don't think it's mechs.
No, I think it is.
When I hear mech, I think of like a Gundam.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I think of too.
But I think you're right though. I think they call it.
I think I keep thinking of Gurren
Oh my god.
But I think so. That was the thing. Like the way the characters are developed is not good. Like Corbin said, it's just because they're the only characters that you're introduced to are commanding officers.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of like specific units or things like that you use, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
The only way it makes any difference in the gameplay is with the commanding officer powers. But that's the part where having, I think the War Room has like side missions or extra maps that you can do. Doing the advanced campaign, it forces you to use other commanding officers because of their, like for me, it was the majority of the campaign was Max. But then the advanced campaign, because I was so frustrated by it, I had to use Sammy a lot because I had to change instead of trying to destroy all the other units to just capturing bases. So there's some validity in that and having different commanding officer powers, because the ones that were like that one that we mentioned, Max being overpowered, it does nothing when you do the advanced campaign and even certain maps in the War Room. So you definitely have to think about that as well.
I could see that. Then where does music fall for you guys? A pro or a con?
Oh yeah, it's a pro for me. I really did not expect it to be so like rock heavy. Just like jumping into war. It was so good.
I was telling Corbin the other day that most Nintendo music, like Mario or whatever, that's like, it's like a nice melody you'll find yourself humming. Mm-hmm. This is like music this is like chiptune music that you literally like air guitar do. Yeah. It is wild, but I love it.
It's like yacht rock as a Game Boy Advance game.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Jimmy Buffett.
I was thinking I can't tell you, like I couldn't hum any of the music right now, to be honest, but it's just fun to like jam to while you're playing it. It's like super air guitar chip chip music. It's so weird, but I love it.
I think as a music player, more specifically a bass player, I loved the music just because of how much, like Corbin already mentioned, how much it resembles just generic rock music. But where it loses points for me isn't that it's not memorable. Like I never at one point, even if it's the most annoying music in the world, if it can get stuck in my head, I'll give it some credit. And I think the games we played so far, this is one where there's not a single one where it gets stuck in my head.
Oh,
I don't know.
actually,
It's
that's
good.
true. This is the worst music that we've heard so far.
Yeah, I actually,
the third or fourth game that we've played.
Yeah.
It is the worst music.
I don't put it as a con, but I also was playing it at like midnight and later. So sometimes I would just turn the volume down because it's so in your face. It's good. It's good, but when you're playing like an hour-long match of the same repeating song, I was like, okay, I'll just slide the volume nozzle down a little bit.
Yeah.
But I do think it's good.
Yeah. No music. No
I will
music
say I
and
do
messed
like
up
though
sound.
that when it switches turns, the music switches.
That is
It's
cool.
a nice little touch.
Yeah. A little
Yeah, I
dynamic.
think there was nice little touches like that, but overall there was not enough music.
Yeah, I think that's my other
The
problem.
quality of music was not quite. I think I do agree with Miguel. Like the quality was not quite there.
Mhm.
It was close for me, especially for the type of game it was. But more so than that, there just wasn't enough music. Like it was just 3 songs the whole game. You know.
I think for me too, in like a thinky game, I would really like to hear something kind of ambient or like maybe math rock. Like if you're gonna go the rock route, I think some math rock would be really cool to kind of get you.
Actually, that would be
Thinking.
pretty dope. Like some instrumental math rock.
Yeah.
That would actually be kind of dope.
License invalids music to play in the background of your dance program.
Like I've never heard a game use math rock before, and I think that would be really good.
Actually, that would be really good.
I think that would be great. I cannot picture a universe where Nintendo does that.
No,
No.
or they even know what that is.
Yeah.
There's got to be an indie game that has that though.
We gotta make it. if you guys could make a sequel or a remake, if you were on the remake team, how would you improve this game? Maybe
Yeah, I guess this is the game that is actually getting a remake. So
yeah, out of everything,
we can actually talk about like what we hope for.
our hopes and dreams.
Well, I hope, because I think that they're not going to ditch the characters, right? So they're not going to give us less story. I hope, which I think would be actually most ideal, is just give us less story. But I don't think that's going to happen. But I also don't have confidence that it's going to be better. That stinks. That would be what I would do. I would just try to like have some middle ground between where this is and Fire Emblem. Like not that level of story and character development necessarily, but somewhere in between.
I do. I've never played the sequels to this game, and I did get the impression that people think that's even better. So I am curious to dip into that and see what improvements they made that maybe I would want that they already even did. I think a really simple thing to implement that would be really fun. Give us alternate costumes.
Oh man.
You know, especially since they already had them in localization. Like add those and then add some more that maybe you can buy if you do better on your missions. You get a higher grade ranking.
That's a cool one.
Give me some extra money. I'll buy some extra costumes just for fun.
So this is a remake, right? Not a remaster. What they're doing with 1 and 2.
Yeah, remake.
So that's good in the sense that I do hope they can find a better way to tell the story, or even like Corbin mentioned, integrate the tutorials with the actual campaign instead of having it as a separate part of the game. But there's other stuff that it did that I really liked that I wish they wouldn't change, that I hope they don't change. Like, what's it called? The only thing that's confusing was the way they named it. The place where you could buy different maps or COs for the side missions or some other stuff. I think it was called like battle maps or something like that.
Yeah, it was
It's
kind
not
of
a shop. Yeah, there's nothing to indicate that it's a shop. So I never went into it until you told me that there was. Like, this is not the first time I played this game, and I've never gone in there because I don't know why. It just never. I didn't know there was a shop.
Mm-hmm.
I know that money you made could be used to be spent in game.
Yeah, I've been there before.
So I hope they don't remove it, but that they name it something. Maybe they include some things like you mentioned, like costumes or different ways that you can customize the units, or just little fun things here and there.
I think it'd be cool if you could make your own flag design, like your own army.
Oh,
yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Do your own thing,
character.
custom. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay,
That'd be really cool.
I also didn't play super late into this game, but I think it would be cool to have like did they ever get into like setting up your army before the match, or was it always preset?
it was already preset.
You can build maps, which is actually really cool on the Game Boy Advance. That's a really cool feature
That's
we didn't
dope.
talk about. That's actually really
That's a
cool.
feature. I think it'd be a cool feature to like have a little bit like of like a prep side
Mhm.
where you can like select units and place them within a certain area.
That's a really good
Say,
idea.
like,
Yeah.
beyond the HQ that you have, so you have a certain range that you can see,
Mhm.
and you're kind of limited to. But that way you could like kind of lean into a style of gameplay too that you enjoy.
Instead of wasting like 3 turns to get set up in that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
cool. Cool
I think
idea.
that'd be cool to like have a prep side and maybe like even like almost like a separate mode to the mission. Like it's almost like a part of the story where it's like the first step is like you have certain intel on where you're going, and you have to use that info to try to like select the right units and place them in certain areas, like depending on information that they might give you. Like I don't know. I think that'd be kind of cool. Like
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's there's more strategy in that
yeah.
aspect of it, which is great. It was one of the things I love about the game.
Yeah.
I played the sequel, but it was a long time ago. I haven't played it recently. And it was, from what I remember, far better than the original because it fixed a lot of the little annoying little features in it that the first one had. With the remake, I really hope they don't mess with the game mechanics too much. If they have to fix small things, that's fine, but don't completely change it, because I'm afraid what they could do with that. That it could be make a really, really bad game out of it.
I'd be okay if they tweaked the balance of the CO powers a little bit. I feel like that could use some tweaking. But other than that, I feel like this game is just a big boy bucket of fun. Like, just give me more.
Yeah.
Just give me like 20 new maps. That's all. That's all they really need to do. Like, don't change the game.
I think the online adds a cool aspect that I'm sure the map builder will still be there, and you'll probably be able to share maps online and also battle your friends
Yeah, you'll be
online.
able
And
to
I think
battle,
that's kind of what's selling the remake for me, because otherwise I just want to stick with the pixel art. So it's
Mhm.
really just something big like that would
having that
motivate
easily
me to buy it.
accessible online mode, like
Mhm.
that's a big selling point.
Yeah.
Advanced
Take it anywhere.
Mario Maker Wars.
So, so was the second one? Did it change that many mechanics, or like did it make that many improvements to it? Because the remake is 1 and 2 combined, right?
Right. I think I need to play it again just to, don't quote me on this, just to make sure of it. But I think even like the attack powers of the units were a little bit changed. They're changed a little bit to make it a little more challenging. If I remember correctly, I think they introduced a few more units, not a whole lot to where you have to learn a bunch of other things completely, but I think they might have added a few more. And CO powers, I don't remember. I think you have more commanding officers available to you. Yeah, I don't know if they changed the power though, but that would be good to balance out the powers a little bit more.
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering if like if it's 1 and 2 combined, are they going to make it like 2 separate games, or are they going to kind of combine them to make it one long game? Like, how is it going to feel? You know, which I would definitely think it would be cooler if it was just one combined game. Like they took all that good stuff and just made it one bigger game.
Cohesive story.
Yeah.
You just hurt my soul because now I'm realizing that we're gonna get this remake and you're probably gonna boot it up and you're probably gonna be greeted with this ugly title screen, which is like select Advanced War or Advanced War 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's probably just gonna be each game separate,
that's
and I
what
hate that.
I know. I'm hoping
Yeah.
it's not that.
Yeah. That would be a downer.
That would be really bad.
When I was looking for other podcasts that talked about Advanced Wars, I didn't see anyone else that had a solo episode for it. So that's kind of cool.
Whoa.
So hopefully, if you're listening to,
First.
we did the game justice, and you obviously appreciate the game, or hopefully you learned something or got a laugh out of it. So that being the case, we want to let you know what the next Game Club game is going to be. We're going to play consecutively Metroid and Metroid Zero Mission, and look at some of the differences between those games. And then the following couple of months leading up to the release of Metroid Dread, we're going to play through Metroid 2, Return of Samus, Metroid, Super Metroid.
And we're
Said
gonna
that
be
wrong.
playing I'm gonna be playing the remake of Metroid 2.
Ooh, not retro, but still good.
Not
And
retro, but-
also Metroid Fusion. So we'll be excited to get into Dread when that comes out. But thank you for listening to this episode of Bite Size Pod. Did you guys have any final thoughts on Advanced Wars?
love it for what it is, but you know, I guess I'll see the remake when it comes out. Actually, no, I just really want to just play online. I just want to play online play. So
Yeah, we ought to have a skirmish later.
One of these days, we're going to have a skirmish. A skirmish.
Ooh.
Squirmish. I'm feeling a little squirmish. I think it's a great, if you like tactical games, then definitely it's the game to get you to check out if you haven't already. I think it was interesting. I know we didn't talk about it. I wanted to talk about it, but we didn't talk about it in the main part of the episode. I just thought it was interesting how I got such good reviews at the beginning. Caleb mentioned Edge magazine. Edge gave it a 9 out of 10 when it first came out.
Wow.
12 years later, they retroactively changed it to a 10 out of 10.
What?
Wow.
So
Hey.
that's something about the game.
I thought about it.
That's actually pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. I can't think of too many games that have retroactively got bumped up to a perfect
Yeah.
score.
It's usually the opposite. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
A perfect score? That's crazy.
that's insane.
Well, it's also Edge magazine, so let's be
Take it
real
with a
here.
grain of salt.
I never heard of it.
That's funny.